Hey everybody, it's Cathryn Hartt of Heart and Soul Studio, and today's training video is going to be about how to do an actor's prep. Now, I work with actors all the time. In fact, I just finished doing a live webinar, and we were working on power and doing villains and using the camera and the technique of looking with your eyes and doing all sorts of connections and things to make you look like a villain. And by the way, there are lots of cool villains. I should do a training video on the villain stuff. And we had a lot of fun, and one of the things that I was making sure that they did was to do a proper actor's prep before they started. Then this afternoon, I had a kid who needed to have a knife to his throat in the audition, and he had to really be, scared and crying and doing all this stuff. And I needed to teach him how to do an actor's prep because he could not do that audition if he didn't know how to prep for that. So I find that quite often when I'm working with actors, I don't see you do anything. And honestly, I can tell if you're a good actor before you ever open your mouth. And one of the reasons I can tell is I see you create a reality. I see you take a moment and it's just a moment. It just is a split second to actually go there. Or if it's supposed to be a traumatic scene, that you're actually getting yourself into the right state before you start. You should always be there at the beginning of this scene before you start saying your lines and stuff. You should be there. So let me show you a couple of quick preps. It depends on what you're needing to do in the scene as to what you need to do for your actual prep. But if you're just going to do, something that's fairly simple and you just need to create your reality, take a second and just, get yourself comfy. Breathing, relaxing is a great way to sort of get into it. And I need to put myself in the state of the reality of what's really going on around me. So at the very beginning of the scene, there should always be some little setup there too. So if I'm supposed to be looking for someone, I'm really looking for them. First of all, I really need to be doing something. But if I'm supposed to be looking frantically, right before I start, I need to, okay, so that I'm in the middle of more frantic. So I need to pump myself up. If I were shooting a scene where I'm supposed to be laughing, I wouldn't just start with the camera starts, action, No, I'm not really gonna be laughing. Instead, while the camera's coming up to speed, I'm kind of goofing around, like having a good time. So when the camera starts, I'm really in the middle of actually just having a good time. My energy is really there. Now, if you need to be sad or crying, it's perfectly fine for you to ask for just a moment to pull yourself together. You should do it psychologically. Do something on the inside where you're giving yourself some very sad story or something to force something to happen that pushes your buttons, preferably something to do with the scene. So, like today, the kid was supposed to be very upset because someone just came and shot all of his entire family, and he was very scared and upset. So in that case, sometimes it also helps to sort of hold it inside instead of pushing it out, that you try not to. You try not to cry. You try not to. You just like a pressure cooker. You're pulling it all inside. And then when you want to do physiologically to your body what you would really be doing. So I'm making sounds. Then I'm crying. Now I'm not really crying right now, but I'm just making the sounds, and my face is starting to look like it, and everything, and my body kind of pulls in. So I'm just physiologically doing this right now. No tears, no psychological. I'm not pushing any psychological buttons, but I can stimulate a feeling of sadness from doing something to my body, and it really makes me feel that way. And then if I try to put the stuff in, and notice my voice has to change and all that stuff. So right before I start the scene, I may need to do some stuff to myself. I may need to tell myself something that's really sad. So I get myself worked into it, and then I tell them, and then it's like, okay, you let them know that you're okay. Now, if you need to do something where you're really powerful or angry, you need to stomp around, stomp your feet, do some push-ups, push against the wall, do something like that right before you start. So then when you're ready to shoot, you're really there. You're not going to freak people out when you do that stuff. All they do is go like, oh, it's a real actor. Now, don't walk around the whole place going like, I'm an actor getting into my actor's prep. Let me show off how many push-ups I can do. Don't do that stuff. That just looks like a dorky actor trying to show off. But do, really take those few seconds. And the more you do this, the faster you can get into it. I'm there. I'm there immediately. So, depending upon what you need to do for your scene, especially if it's an emotional scene, you got to take a few moments to prep. If nothing else, just create the reality. Just feel the wind starting to blow. Just let it go through your skin if that's what's supposed to happen. Or really, notice audible breathing is a really fabulous thing where I can hear you breathing. It's a good way to trigger your body physiologically. I use that for a lot of different things. But physically do to your body, tense it up if you're supposed to be angry. Scream right before you do something if you're supposed to be really pumped up. Get yourself in there and have a good time. So do your actor's prep or I'll have to slap you.